Welcome back. It's the Kovacs Report. It's time for some Uncanny X-Men, number 17 to be precise. A new arc from Gail Simone and artist Luciano Vecchio. And we're going to go through it page by page today. So if you've not read the book, please read it first. If you don't want it spoilt, then come back and let me know what you think. Now, like the video, that would be great. Even better, subscribe. That will help the channel grow. I'd really appreciate it, and I can carry on making these silly videos. Now, let's jump straight in. We've got an amazing cover here, absolutely reminiscent of slasher movies, and that's exactly what this cover is. It is the poster for a new movie that is being premiered right now, Murder Me, Mutina. Okay, and it's about mutants, obviously. Now, they're all worried about this because what worse thing could you do, right, to sort of help the public's understanding of mutants, right? A horror film probably isn't a good way to go. You know, how is it going to present mutant kind to the average Joe or Jane on the street? So they're worried about this, okay? There could be fallout. There could be misinformation in it. And they decide that they're a young bunch of outliers, these teen mutants that they're looking after. Old Jubilee is in there. We've got Nightcrawler. We've got Rogue. We've got Gambit. They're looking after these kids, and they're saying, you know what, let's protect them here. Protect them from the content of the film, first off. And secondly, if the reception to this film is bad and it makes mutants look worse, they might be in for a bit of trouble. We don't want to put them through that. Let's protect them. So they put a curfew. But of course, they're teenagers. They're not going to listen because they've already snuck out and bought tickets, because that's what teenagers do, right? That's probably what I would have done. In fact, I did do as a kid. I snuck out and watched movies I shouldn't have watched. Now, here we are. Here we are. So there are interviews at the premiere of some high-profile mutants, as you can see there. And also, this is something I really like. As a writer, you get the little privilege of sticking things in that mean something to you here. So these people are being interviewed about what they think of the film, what it's going to do, how it's going to be received. And you can see that, I guess, some of Gail's heroes, I guess, are in there. We've got C. Robert Cargill, Nancy Collins, Emily Andreas, and very happy to see one of my favourites, you know, because his dad is the granddaddy of horror itself, Joe Hill. Joe Hill's in there too. So that's a nice little nod. A nice little nod to some maybe influencers or friends. So let's just get past that. I just like pointing out all these little things that make sense to me. So the kids are at the film. They've got their collector buckets, which seems to be the trend now. And one thing I want to say is this movie that we see, like this sort of, I guess it's sort of the the first scene of the movie is pure slasher movie. So if you've watched any slasher movies ever, you will get this. It's the trope. It's delivered perfectly. The tension is there. The story's there. There's this young girl who's been bullied by the cool kids at school. She's vanished and come back, but this time she looks a little different. That's right. She's all costumed up and she's got some really vicious looking weapons and she's taking down those bullies, right? And there we go. There's one of them. She's knocks of old Brenda. Goodbye, Brenda. You're the first girl to go in this movie. So the kids kind of find it a bit boring. They're not too sure about it. But the problem with this is that what happens after the movie, right? Because a lot of people are going to see this. So this movie obviously doesn't show mutants in a good light at all. In fact, it kind of makes them look like the bad guys, right? And this is where the trouble starts. This is exactly where the trouble starts. So before we get into that, I just want to say to Gail, if you ever watch Otter Party, I would be down for that. I would definitely go to the cinema and watch that if you ever made it. So go on to Marvel, all right, write the comic book Otter Party. I want to know what happens with the lobster especially, okay? It looks really, really fun. Let's dive back to the kids. So they've gone for sort of like a burger after the movie, and they're kind of discussing it. And of course, there's going to be a bunch of idiots that turn up that want to poke fun at the mutants, right? Now, this is really dark, this moment here. I love this part. So the bully picks on them. And one of the powers one of the young mutants has is that he can speak to the dead. And he says, your dad says hello. And he says, like, well, what the hell are you saying to me, freak shows? And I said, your dad says hello. Was I not clear? And he goes, my father's dead. And he goes, yeah, I know. He told me. This scene is really, really dark. And I think if you read this book quickly, you kind of miss how dark this is. Like, imagine going somewhere, doing something, and your father kind of speaks through this mutant and tells you that, I'm going to tan your hides. I knew you'd turn out badly. It's really messed up. I love it. It's one of my favorite pages in the whole book. Anyway, they go home. We also find out that the Sentinel dog, which they've kind of reprogrammed to be friendly, it's called Waffles, which I thought was a cool name because I think they were making waffles in the issue where he was creeping up and we thought he was going to like murder them all. So that was kind of cool. And he's formed a bond with one of the mutants. Anyway, Rogue gives them a sort of gentle lecture about sneaking out and about not doing things they shouldn't do, and how, you know, this film could affect them, and be very careful what happens next, you know. And of course they go to bed. I think it's their first day of school now, so they've all got their uniforms on. They're off to school. And Wolverine and Nightcrawler, they're kind of sensing something isn't quite right with them. Maybe the film did unsettle them a little bit. Maybe they haven't processed it properly. But they thought, you know what? We see what happens later. So the kids get to school, and of course, they're already greeted with some anti-mutant sentiment. Someone's graffitied their locker with "Go away, Mutina." Now, there's this kid in the blonde hair, and he's got a man bun. And I usually steer away from any man with a man bun because you know they're a wrong 'un. Now, he was staring at them on the bus, so he's being set up to be the villain. But the flip happens. In actual fact, he's not a villain. He's come over there. He's seen the horrible graffiti, and he's come over to sort of clean it off and make sure she's okay, which was really nice to see, a little flip in the story. But of course, Becca, she thinks that the guy's probably being horrible to her fellow mutant. Sorry. You see how it just slips in? You start calling them slurs. Mutant, her fellow mutant. And she scares the hell out of him, and not realizing that he's actually a friend. Now they get sent home, suspended for 3 days on their first day, but with ice cream. Because, you know, back at home, they know they're going through something. So let's keep them sweet. Now, Hotoru, something Hotoru said resonates throughout the whole book, which is, this is how they ruin us. They're saying that these movies are not just made to sort of change opinion of mutants. It's also to try and sort of hurt mutants from the inside out. You know, place something in your head that you are a bad thing, or that you do deserve the hate you're getting, which is, again, true to a lot of sort of current things that are going on in the world now. And I thought that was kind of resonant as well, really resonant. This issue, I thought I wasn't going to like it. I'm sorry, Gail. I know. I honestly thought I didn't, but the more I think about it, the more I read it, the more poignant I think it is, and more relevant I think it is for what's going on in society right now. Anyway, two of them spin off into the night because they want to go see this actress. They sense something's not right? And they've done a bit of research. They found out that actually she's been doing these mass, I guess, YouTube podcast videos, with lots of anti-mutant sentiment. She hates mutants, like really, really, really hates it. She's kind of like the Ku Klux Klan of mutant haters, this girl. But she's badass still. She's not just an actress. She obviously has some kind of powers. So, of course, you know, they turn up to speak to her, a fight ensues, and they get kicked around a bit. They find out that she's actually got psychic powers as well. But she's unrelenting and unapologetic. She's not interested in anything. She just wants them to die. But luckily, to the rescue, the fellow X-Men turn up, and they realise that she works in the shadows, you see. So Jubilee, her useless powers useful for once. She lights the place up so there are no shadows, and they can contain her. Anyway, they pop off back home to safety, but Wolverine, he just stays by just to make it sure. He says, you come near those kids again, I'll show you a slasher story. And that's it. So is this setting up a new villain? I don't know. Is this just sort of a one-issue sort of bridge to the next big story? Either way, I thought it was really interesting, really involving. And again, I think it's a great commentary, an allegory, I think is the right term, of what's going on in the world today. And it struck me. I don't get struck many times by comics like this, but it really, really did. Anyway, to end, I will say again, Otter Party, I'm all in. Let me know when it's out, and I'll be reviewing that too. So I love this book. Pick it up. It is the X-Men book worth reading. You won't regret it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours, and we will hopefully catch you in the next one.